Hi everybody, it's Katarina Andrea Reyes with Libelula's Path, and just as a reminder, which I believe I mentioned in the first video, is that Libelula's Path is the business where I offer my services, and I'm an Akashic counselor and I also do energy work. And a little bit about how I access the Akashic records is I just let it flow through me. Often during client sessions, I will use an opening prayer to set an intention to reach the Akasha and then offer messages. But in these kind of videos, I would just let it come through me as intuition and then offer any messages. So to begin, winter solstice is upon us. Winter solstice is right now, it's actually Thursday, December 19th, and on December 21st, which is a Saturday, winter solstice will commence. So a little bit about winter solstice. Often during winter solstice, a lot of different energetic changes happen. Things begin to culminate, and often sometimes there can be a period of difficulty before winter solstice begins, because winter solstice is about releasing and pulling out whatever no longer serves us and bringing to the surface what we as a human or as a soul require to deal with at that moment or to look at. And it doesn't mean that the solution will be resolved right away, more so that we as humans are going to take the time to really reflect on what it is that we are wanting to change, alter, or just highlight in our lives at the moment. So as I'm opening up to Akasha, one of the things that is really important and often is a common theme is rest, deep rest. I actually recently watched this video talking about depression, and depression is often rampant during this time because of the sun isn't as apparent during the winter time. There tends to be more cold days, and that can create more depression because maybe people are spending more time indoors or they're not getting as much direct access to sunlight. So depression can represent, I saw recently that it can represent also deep rest, depression, deep rest. So the commonality in those words is often sometimes when we are experiencing depression, it is because we as a soul are walking away from who we are meant to be. For example, if we are not being authentic to who we are, whereas, for example, if you're pushing yourself too hard during this time, and then depression is a result where you don't want to go outside, you don't want to interact, you want to close down, often that's just a sign that you have to take time and get some deep rest and take care of yourself. Also, when we are not being authentic to who we are, that can create depression and that can create dis-ease within our bodies, because we have a certain path on this earth. We are meant to make a certain impact here on earth, and it doesn't necessarily mean to be that we're standing on a stage talking to people, but more so we're being kind to that person in the grocery store who had a really bad day that day, or we're smiling at the person that we walked by when we were on our walk outdoors, or maybe it's getting somebody that gift and it really made their day because they've actually haven't felt that special in a long time. These are ways we can make impact in our world, and there are a variety of different things in our relationships that can flourish when we are able to understand how important we are. We are a gift to this earth, and often as humans we can forget because we can feel like life is a burden, that life is hard. And it's not that life isn't hard, it's how we choose to look at it. Can we choose to look at life as an opportunity to overcome our challenges and to change and rise above? So that's what's been coming up for the winter solstice. Additionally, there are themes of love, particularly love for the self. Often when we are looking at our relationships, we can easily point out where things are not working. This person said this about me. This person is acting this way. My partner is making me unhappy. But all of this actually is a deep reflection. People are mirrors. So when things aren't working out the way that we expected them to, the key word being expectation, often we can direct blame on the other person instead of seeing how am I contributing to this behavior and how am I contributing to the dynamic in this relationship. And somebody who's also studied the psychology behind relationships, I've often found this very interesting. And this is also something I personally have had challenges with, because often it's so much easier to blame another person for the issues in the relationship, but often there's a lesson there. For example, if we feel like our partner is not listening to us, is not really computing what exactly we want them to hear, often it can be how are we communicating? What is our expectation around the communication? And then if we go even deeper, is how are we communicating to ourselves? Is it a kind matter? Are we being compassionate with our self-talk? Do we feel heard by ourselves? Sometimes and oftentimes when we don't feel heard in another relationship, it's because we ourselves are not feeling heard by ourselves. We ourselves are feeling some kind of neglect. So when we feel neglect in certain relationships, sometimes that can be a reflection of how we feel about ourselves. There's also, around the holidays, there tends to be this desire to have somebody for the holidays, to have a partner, however temporary, for the holidays. And sometimes it can cause strife because we believe we need another person to feel whole inside. We believe we need another person to remind us that we are loved, or to even feel loved in the first place. This all stems from our self-worth and how we view relationships. So as humans who relationships are often inevitable in however sense, whether platonic or romantic or familial, I would like to propose this question. How do you feel about relationships? What do relationships mean to you? And as we think about that, we can maybe see gaps in how we treat ourselves. For example, if we feel we need a partner in order to feel truly happy, why is it that we are not happy now? Why is it that we are not happy before we get that partner? Then there are also ideas of, well, I just want a companion in life. Why do we not feel like we are enough? And why do we not feel like we are our own companions in our life? There's the idea of dating ourselves. How can we feel fulfilled by ourselves? How can we take ourselves on dates? Whether that's doing something you always wanted to do. Oftentimes we wait for others before we do the things we want to do. Well, one day I'm going to travel to Peru. One day I'm going to go to Paris and go to this certain coffee shop and stand in front of the Eiffel Tower, and I want that to be with the person that I end up with romantically. But why don't we do that to ourselves? The more that we give to ourselves, the more that we take ourselves on our own adventures and feel fulfilled by ourselves, we are able to attract a better partner for us. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to attract a partner that is bad for us before we do those things, but we may attract a partner that creates more challenges because they are going to reflect the love you have for yourself. If you feel like you are not enough, you are going to attract a partner who reflects that insecurity of yours, or who reflects that thought about yourself. So in addition to deep rest and relationships, love in particular, romantic love, our relationship to romantic love, there are also the idea of not forcing anything. When we try to control the outcomes in our life, we create anxiety for ourselves. We create a deep disconnect between our soul and our ego. Because often as humans, we let our ego run our lives. We let our ego dictate what we're going to do. And often the ego is is the entity, let's say, that is wanting control, desiring control, and needing control because they believe, the ego believes that without control, we cannot feel safe. But the challenge here is, and I challenge you, is how can you feel safe irregardless of whether you can control the outcome of a certain situation? And some people may wonder, well, what do you mean by feeling safe? Often when we get this pit in our stomach, where I identify as a solar plexus, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of concern. We're trying to think about, oh, well, if that person acts this way, or if this happens in my life, or this career opportunity, we're trying to control, and therefore that creates anxiety and disconnect. When we choose the often more challenging path of surrender and release, we then can find true peace and safety, because finding and feeling safe can be without conditions. We can feel safe without there being conditions. But as a humanity, as a whole, we often need certain things to go a certain way in order for us to feel safe. So I'm gonna wrap that up here. And just as a recap, the first part of the winter solstice, or the first message of the winter solstice, is deep rest. How can you feel like you're taking care of yourself and truly resting? And how can you be authentic to who you are? Then also the second message is love. What is our relationship to love? What is our relationship to romantic partners? And what is our relationship with ourselves? The third and last message is regarding, oh my gosh, I forgot it. What was the last message? Let's pause. Well, I surrendered to the moment, and I realized that the last message was regarding surrender. How can we feel safe irregardless of how the outcome is going to go? There are a lot of things that there are a lot of events and dynamics that people are currently in right before the end of 2024 that can create a lot of anxiety or can create expectation. The most important thing is to relinquish our expectations and surrender to the present moment. This can be through breath work, spending time with family without distractions, going on a walk outside, going to do a workout that you love, going to take yourself to eat. These are a couple of ways we can just live in the moment and forget about the need to control whatever is coming our way or whatever is currently in our life. I hope that this was helpful. Again, if you would like to book with me, my link is in the bio below, and I look forward to the next video. Thank you.